I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So something happened in the new bathroom?
Yeah, so we had just put the new bathrooms in, and they, you know, there's a window in one and none in the other, you know, they face
Right,
east.
right.
So, I go back to use the bathroom and the air conditioner quit. Well then, you know, it's a bank, you can't really have the doors open, you know, so we have a few fans and it's hot in here and you go back there and it is cold, cold, cold. You can see your breath. I think I'm gonna move my paperwork back here. But you walk back out and you're like, they're gonna think I'm crazy. So you walk back in and it's just as hot as the rest of the building and I'm like, I think I'm losing it. I'm just gonna go back and work. So
You
you're
know,
like, okay.
one thing that's interesting about this building, and we tell this to everybody because, you know, when we do the event center, it's gonna, you get 398 degree batteries blowing around.
Yeah.
It warms things up pretty quick. We found that out when we had a nightclub. And it can be 102 outside, and we come in here and it's 65. It never gets any warmer. Like, that north end will get cold in the winter, but most of it always fluctuates. It'll get down usually around 35. But in the summer, like I said, we had our air conditioner was out. We would come down here and just hang out on a Sunday because it's 102 out.
And it's cooler in here.
65.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then, you said you guys are gonna have glass on the outside. Well, there was kind of a weird thing, but it wasn't a Seymour thing, but, we had a gentleman come around the corner and happened to have a heart attack as he's coming around the corner, and him and his wife jumped the curb, and right where my desk was sitting, the window behind it, they hit the wall and cracked my window, and then Carol was the next desk over, and it hit that, well, it broke that window and then hit again. So it's now come to a halt because the building was so sturdy. You know, we could hear it hit, you didn't feel it, but you could hear it and you could see it, and then you see the sparks in the car, you know, kind of hit against it. And a couple of the windows were so old that there's a film on. I thought they were colored windows. They're not. It's a special film. And All American Glass, Ken had to find somewhere in old stock that he had that color to match the windows out there, so they didn't have to replace all of them.
Well, do you remember, was it 2 years ago now, that kid who couldn't make the turn in his semi and went through Aaron Ridge?
Oh, yeah.
We were talking, man, if it would have been 2 more blocks and he'd have tried to make that turn here, he'd have just come clean through this building.
Well, you know what, as thick as it is, I don't think he would have, because if you, I mean, those outside walls are that thick.
Yeah.
I mean,
They are.
there'd have been damage, but he wouldn't have went through it. But yeah, no. And then when they start bringing the blades for the wind towers, they'd bring them to this corner. So they would come here and they would go real slow. And they'd make everybody move your cars, you know, along the one way, and they would just have to go up just a little bit on the sidewalk and then back down. And somebody would go to the back of the blade and use like this hydraulic thing to steer it so they could get around the corner and then go.
But this is the way they had to come, was it down Main Street? Wow, that's amazing.
Oh yeah, it was,
that would have been
there was a few hairy times with that. And then was it 97, 98, 96, when we had the flood.
Oh yeah,
flooded
97. Flood of
It got
97.
right up to that first set of doors, but it never got in.
Really? Well, a few years ago, so it's been since 11, because we bought it in 11, that one year that we were getting flooding, and they told everybody
You couldn't flush, you couldn't use your
downtown
bathroom.
Oh yeah.
they told us we put plastic over the toilet lids, or literally in the toilet, and then we put sandbags on it to keep it from coming, and we had a couple of drains up on the north end. So we had everything, because but we didn't have any. They had the serious flooding over where Wolf is.
Oh, yeah.
Cars were
Yeah.
underwater and stuff.
Yeah.
But we didn't have any of it here. But we prepared for it.
Yeah.
And they were even saying it was going to be so deep that it would be coming up through the sewers.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of worried about that
We have
utility room.
there's a drain in the floor back there, or
Right.
used to be. There was a drain in the floor.
I put a sandbag and plastic over it too,
and it
but we didn't
get-
see anything. So I think it was less serious than what they were planning. And supposedly they've made certain arrangements that the biggest part was the way our sewer system was handled out by the river. it would have backed up into
Right.
the sewer system, but we didn't see anything.
Yeah,
so.
no, and, you know, like I said, when the flooding happened, if it didn't happen in '96 when the rest of downtown got it, it didn't, now, when people would drive through, you know, trucks and stuff, it would splash up against the doors.
Yeah.
But the water level itself didn't get in.
Oh.
You know,
Well,
and
and
then
I-
it got to where they just, you know, don't drive, you know, you're gonna, you know, if you had a big pickup, you weren't allowed to drive down here after that then.
I heard that flood, like over there where Blockbuster is now.
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
that was just underwater.
Mhm.
It's just,
Oh, yeah, there was a couple feet of water, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, it's hard to believe that when you think of downtown Sterling,
I know.
but it's like,
Well, and how it comes is I think it was 69. Before they redid Main Street, where McDonald's is now, in that corner,
Mhm.
my grandmother lived in a house right there. So my mom and dad lived north of Stevens School. So it was just about to get up into the house, about a couple more inches, and there was me and my 3 brothers. I don't think my sister was born yet. And so we got in my dad's little Studebaker pickup. We went real slow, and we went to grandma's house because there was no water. It was high enough that Dad said we'd probably never get there, so we stayed there for a couple days. But that came from the river, and
Yeah.
it made it, you know, through the railroad tracks. They were holding it back. Some of them broke, and it got through. And then that's why we ended up with new river bridges, because it ruined them.
right,
So since then, every time Sterling's been flooded after that, it's come from the Pawnee
right.
and then into town that way. Atwood then follows.
That's what I
Highway
heard
6
about the
down into
90s.
town.
It came from that
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a friend who was telling me he was at the Pawnee Ditch and he literally was racing it. He saw it was a wall. He was racing it to Atwood because
Oh, God.
he had family living in Atwood. And he said when he got to Atwood, the wall got there and it was just coming between houses, just like
Yeah.
this high, racing through
Mhm.
between houses and stuff. And yeah, so it was already on this side of the railroad
Yeah.
tracks.
Yeah. So it didn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they built the railroad up, you know,
Mhm.
the tracks and stuff, you know, since then. But I just don't see it flooding Sterling from that direction again. I mean, not the way, you know.
No, not the way they've
done
changed
things,
it.
but no.
They've tried to make, and the last flood, the one that hit